Hello crafters! I am making a video on these tags because I got a lot of questions as to how I did them. I have prepped a couple things so that I can try and do it a little bit faster for you. But essentially I took paper and covered it in foil tape, rubbed it with Inka gold to get all these nice colors on it, and then put an eyelet through it. So let me set these guys aside and let's get started. First thing you're going to need to get started is some cardstock and some foil duct tape. And I purchased this one, actually, well, yes, when we were fixing something at the house, but I've taken the liberty of pre-cutting this piece so that it fits perfectly. And all you're going to do is cover your paper with your duct tape. I'm going to start by peeling off the plastic backing. I only peel half off to get started, and then I'm going to insert my cardstock into that crease and burnish out to the ends. This will give you a really nice smooth effect. Then I can peel off the other half and burnish again. Any of these little pieces that aren't straight or excess, you can then take and cut off with your scissors when you go to trim your tag. It's not necessary to do it this step, but if you like for everything to be perfect, go ahead and take care of that beforehand. After this, I take this piece and I run it through an embossing folder. This is the embossing folder I used. It's the, I don't know, it looks like metal plates. It's a Tim Holtz by Sizzix embossing folder. So I would just take this piece and set it inside wherever I wanted to, run it through my embosser. And this part is the part I've pre-done for you, so that then you get pieces that look like this. This is a big one that I did so that I can cut it up into smaller pieces like this. And these ones I thought I wanted to keep large. I'll probably just trim the corners to give it a more tag-like shape. From this point, we're going to use a bunch of Inka gold pots here. I have 4 different colors that I'm going to be using. I will be using the brown gold. I will be using the yellow gold. I will be using copper and cobalt blue. I like to add a little blue. I think it gives it a kind of realistic look. So you're also going to want to have some wipes handy because Inka gold does make your fingers very messy. So here, I've found that occasionally my Inka gold gets a little dry because I haven't been using it, and giving it just a little spray of water will be all that I need to get it going so that I can really get that to rub on nicely. So I'm going to start by spritzing them all with a little bit of water. My blue one is the newest one, so it doesn't actually need the water, but the other ones are a little dry. And now I'm just going to run my finger through there. If you like, you can wear gloves for this, but I find that it washes off with water, so I'm not too worried about it. And I'm just going to start rubbing that color on. When you rub it on, you can see that it starts to highlight all of those little marks in there. And once I get a little brown everywhere, then I will go through and I will add in some other colors. Each color goes on a little bit differently. For the brown, I kind of try to cover the entire piece because I want the whole thing to look kind of grungy and dirty, like a nice piece of metal would. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of gold, and I just kind of rub my finger around in there, and I'm going to give just some gold to a couple areas, not the whole thing, just some. And this is really up to you and how much of these colors you want to have show up in the end. And then I'll come through and hit a couple other spots with some copper. I hope that these colors are showing up. Based on the picture that I posted earlier, you can see that when I'm sitting here, I cannot see what my phone is seeing. So hopefully I am in screen. I think I may have been off for some of that. I hope I'll do another one so you guys can follow from beginning to end. And then just a little bit of blue in a couple spots because I want it to have that sort of patinaed look. And if you get your fingerprints in there, it's really not that big a deal. You can just kind of buff them out. There we go. And you can do this with any of your Inka gold colors. I happen to have about a dozen, so I mix it up a lot, but there we go. I'll set that one aside and I will do another one. And hopefully I can make sure that this one is fully in camera. I was trying to keep in mind where my camera was viewing, but it's a little bit difficult since, like I said, I can't see it from where I'm sitting. So I'm hoping that this is in right here, and I'm just going to hit it with some brown. And like I said, other colors are great. I also have some hematite colors, some really ashy grays. I have reds and yellows, pinks, purples, blues. I love this product. It comes in very handy for making things look old and antique-y. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of gold like I did last time. Just a couple highlights here and there where I think it would be fun to have a little bit more light catch. And then we'll come back in with some copper in some of the other areas. If it's too wet, it will pick up like it did just there, but that's okay to me too, because more or less color, I like to go back and forth with it. So now I'll give it a little bit of blue. And we have yet another one. To finish this off, after it's dried for a little bit, so this one has dried for a little bit, I would also do the back. And then I would take my eyelet. So I'll grab an eyelet. I really like this sort of murky color. And my We Are Memory Keepers eyelet setter. I have it set on the larger of the two because that's the size of my eyelet, which also means that when I'm looking at it, I want to use the big hole punch. I'm going to pop this in here, guess about center, pop my hole. It's a little off, but I feel when metal works, that may be acceptable. Pop this through, set it into my setter, and squeeze. That's going to give me a nice smooth eyelet on both sides, and I would decorate the back as well. But for this one, we will call it here. I think I like the way that this is turning out. And there we have a nice, formerly paper, now metal tag. All right, so then I started thinking, for those of you who don't have access to this tape, how else could you make this project? So I did bring out and try a couple other options. I used my double-sided adhesive tape. So I pre-cut a piece, and I'm going to show you how I did it with that. It was really pretty easy. I do recommend not just using the tape. I did it with just the tape and no paper inside. And as you can see, it's very, very thin, very pliable. And I just did this with household foil. But when I did it with paper inside, it was a little bit more solid. Not quite as solid as the duct tape, but it also has a different sheen, which I think is really kind of fun. I hope you can see the difference in those two, but I really liked it. So for that, you're just gonna need a piece of foil, and you're going to want a bone folder. So I ran my bone folder across to make sure that my foil was really nice and smooth before I started. Now foil obviously has two sides. It has a super shiny side, and then it has that sort of more matte of the two sides. And I wanted the matte side to be showing. So I just took my adhesive and I set it down on the shiny side and smoothed it out, giving it some nice even pressure. And you can see we got a really clean attaching there. After that, you're just going to peel off your backing paper. And I'm going to insert a piece of paper. If you wanted it to be really thin like the other one, I just laid another piece of foil on top of this, but I want it to be a bit more solid. So I'm going to set this paper on half of it. And I'm just guessing, I'm not measuring right now, because I'm just trying to do this quickly. And then fold it over. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to actually try and help keep this really, really smooth as I fold it over itself. And this gives me a really nice foil covered paper. It's adhered really, really well. And I took this and I ran it through the same, what's the word I'm looking for? The same embossing folder, and I ended up with this, which is working very nicely. And again, just color it with the same colors the same way. So I'm just gonna hit it with some brown. Like I said, this is a way to get your fingers dirty, but I like this better than using any, I like my finger better than using any other applicators. I've just found that I get more of a, I can control the pressure better. So when I really want these details to show up, depending on how dirty I want it to get in there, I can push a little harder and get more grimy look inside those creases, those edges where the pieces meet up, or I can go very lightly and get it to go just over the top. I'm gonna do both sides of this one so that it'll actually be finished and I can use it when I'm done with this. And I like to do this on a my glass mat, because it's so easy to wipe clean at the end. You could also do it over parchment paper or a scrap piece of foil, or scrap paper. You'll get some interesting looks. All right, done with the brown gold, and now into the gold. Let's just give it some highlights. And a couple spots here. I'm gonna flip it over. I'll get some on the other side. Just like when you use your blending tools, the brushes and whatnot, to create ink blends, you want to kind of use your finger in the same way. I tend to spread it on and then kind of make circular motions going out from there in order to soften those edges a bit. We'll add in the copper. I really, really love the copper. I like the richness of this copper color. It's probably one of my favorites. I think I need to get a new pot of my copper Inka gold. And get some on the other side. Doesn't, as you can see, the last time I was being careful and placing it just in a couple spots, and this time I'm just kind of going for the whole thing, and different colors show through in different intensities, and I like that. And now a little blue. So I hope that this helps you guys and that you feel inspired and realize that as long as you have some double-sided tape, some cardstock, and some kitchen foil, you can do this. You don't have to have the duct tape that I have, the foil duct tape. Although this comes in a pretty big roll. I have to say the downside to using the foil duct tape is that if you leave it someplace, excuse the thread, and it's not protected like it was in my garage, you can see that the edges get really sticky and they pick up a lot of things. So I have one side that's clean because that was up, and the other side was down in the bottom of my uncle's toolbox. So it got really, really kind of dirty. And there you have it. You end up with these really lovely colors, lots of texture and fun there. And that's my project, guys. I hope it helps. I hope you feel like it made sense and you understood it. Couple pieces and you're set. You're good to go. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.